welcome to episode 5 of Connecting Clarkston. Katie and I are super excited today because we have two very special guests here. On our left here is Katie's husband, Larry Hess. Say hi, Larry.
Hi, Larry.
And we also have Tom Braun here as well. And the connection here is they are both members of the Freemasons organization, representing Cedar Lodge number 60 here in Clarkston. And we have lots of questions about what this group is and the connection to Clarkston and the history of the group. So we're really excited to hear all that you have to tell us about the Freemasons. Thank you for being here, both of you.
Thank you.
Our
Thanks
pleasure.
for asking.
We appreciate it. And Larry, you said you were going to be here in 1 year, but look, we got you here within
No.
what, 3 months?
Originally, I asked Larry to be my Ann.
Originally, it was going to be the Katie and Larry show. And
Yes.
Didn't make it that far.
No.
I bumped him out. I'm like, make room.
So we did want to have them on today because we wanted to share about something that the Masons do almost every year, except for during pandemics. And they host a pancake breakfast, which will be happening this coming July 4th.
Correct. It's on Tuesday the 4th,
Okay, and
7
what
to
time?
10.
7 to 10.
7 to 10. We'll feed anybody that comes. The parade starts at 10 o'clock. So, and I don't know which direction it's going this year.
I never know.
It's
switches
always a
lot.
surprise.
Yes.
Okay. But yeah, come on down and we'll have some great pancakes and good sausage and fill your tummies so you can watch the parade.
Nice. And
Where-
so the pancake breakfast, so Larry's dad was a Mason and
Correct.
was always there collecting the donations at the door.
Right.
And so when Larry's dad passed, the Masons ended up naming it the Hess Pancake
Right.
Breakfast.
It's the Jack Hess Memorial Pancake Breakfast.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, funny story about that is before the pancake breakfast, the Masons who do the pancake breakfast now at the lodge there on East Washington and Maine, the fire department used to do the pancake breakfast in what is now Honcho's, but that used to be the fire hall behind Morgan's. And the same premise was my dad collected the money, and he was kind of like the untapped governor of Clarkston, like he knew everybody.
Yes, right.
And that was half the time was like people were wanting to eat and he was too busy talking to them and the line would never move.
That's so great. So can we back up? Because I need to know, and I am very curious about the history of the Masons organization. I mean, I think about like George Washington. I mean, we're going that far back, right?
Absolutely.
And what is
We
the
are
story?
the oldest fraternity in the world.
In the world?
In the world. In fact, the Grand Lodge of Michigan was formed in 1826, and Michigan did not incorporate as a state until 1837. So we've been around a little while. The lodge first started in Groveland, and as the population started up, the next lodge was in Davisburg. And then people started moving into Clarkston, and we finally got our own lodge in 1854. We have been in that same location at Maine and Washington since 1854.
Wow.
There was a fire next door, which would be north of where the lodge building is today, in probably around 1920, and it burned the top floor of the lodge room. We at that point met at the Grange while the renovations were done to our building. There was also a parade that was done, and you'll probably see some pictures of that locally, especially at the historical group, where they had a huge parade. They raised enough money to rebuild the lodge, and we paved the street in Clarkston.
Oh my goodness.
Aw.
So we've been around quite a while.
What is the group? For people who have no context, what do the Freemasons do? What are they? What is the group? What was the origination of the group?
The origination of the group can go all the way back to the 1600s, okay, when they were building castles and cathedrals in Europe. Well, the stonemasons came over and they built those structures. After the completion of all the construction was done, they turned to what's called operative masonry. where they took the tools of the Masons, the trowel, the level, the square, the plumb, and they put symbolic definitions to them. And Masonry gives men the opportunity to make themselves better. We, unlike the other animal clubs,
So the fraternal organization.
but there you are. I should say it that way. Yeah. I got to be nice. There are three things that we do not do in our lodge. There's no drinking in the lodge. We don't talk politics in the lodge, and we don't talk religion. It's truly a fraternal organization that allows fellowship back and forth between men. And everybody is treated the same. You've probably heard the expression, you meet on the level. And everybody is the same. It doesn't matter what your stature is in life. Okay? You are treated the same. And there's only one requirement to be a Mason. You have to have a belief in a higher form of deity. So as long as you believe in a higher form of deity, then we know that you have the ability to make yourself a better person, because all religions have one rule, and that's the golden rule, that do unto others as they would wish that you would do unto you. Right? And in doing in that, we know that you can be a good person. And we give you the tools to do that.
Yeah, and it's not a Christian or
It's
a Catholic or a Protestant, or, I mean, we've together, as you know, we've made men Masons. There's 3 degrees. There's an entered apprentice when you first come in. There's a fellow craft, which is your 2nd degree, and then your 3rd degree is where you become a master Mason. When you become a master Mason, you have to take it. You know, you take an oath, and you know, you're just basically saying that you believe in some form of deity. And we've had people do, you know, the Quran. We've had people do the Bible. We've even had the one gentleman did it on he was Native American, so he did his on an eagle feather.
Correct.
So it's any form that you have, but you have to have a belief in some form of deity.
Correct.
In that.
So when did it shift from actual Masons, like people who are doing stonework, to this where
Probably in the
anybody can-
early 1600s,
Oh,
Yeah.
late
oh,
1500s.
wow, okay.
And Masonry started in England, okay? And it moved from England into the colonies here, and
Okay.
it's just been growing ever since.
So you talk about the levels. How do you progress through those different levels that
Yeah,
you were
it's
talking
just
about?
it's an educational thing. So you study some of the practices and the values, and then you get tested on it. And if you're deemed worthy to be tested, then you can move on to the next one. You know?
Are there certain things like that you have to do in the community to move along, or is it just personal?
No, it's just strictly in the lodge. You know, personal history, and it's like small little tests. It's like you're going to school and you got small little tests you got to take, and that. But
And the Masons in the little communities, if you'll see, as you travel through the state, you'll see the square and compass, which you'll see here.
Yeah.
And if you go through and you look at that, Masons started all those little towns. Even in Clarkston, the Masons, you know, we started the school board, we started the library, we were on the city council, and back then, Masons were the movers and the shakers because they all met as a group. That was their social media back then, and today it's
Yeah.
you know, everything's on your phone, right?
Yeah.
And people today miss that opportunity of one-on-one and talking like we are today. You know? Instead of, we could all be sitting here texting one another. Now, how many times have you seen that, right?
Right.
But our lodge is probably one of the best kept secrets in Clarkston. We do so much for the community. We do scholarships every year at the Clarkston High School. We also, there's the vocational school out on Big Fish Lake. We'll do one there for the vocation if people apply. We do the pancake breakfast every year to raise funds. We, in November, we pay for the Veterans Dinner out at the American Legion, and we'll take care of that. We sponsor a Little League team or T-ball.
Yeah.
I think it's been T-ball the last
Yeah.
few years. And
adopt a family
We
at Christmas
do adopt a
time.
family at Christmas.
Is the CHIP program?
That has, the way we used to do the CHIP program with the computers and the child ID, it is now, we have adopted the program with the FBI, and we simply hand out the information to the parents. They get online and download all the information or upload the information to them, and it's kept with the FBI. So it's really evolved into something totally.
Will you have that information available at the pancake breakfast? Or
We
how
can.
do people get that?
Right, we can do that.
Okay.
And the interesting thing about that is, so way back when, and when I say way back when, like early 2000s, we used to do these functions where we would set up computers and we would have parents would stop by free of charge, bring their child in, and we would take the information like, you know, height, name, eye color, and
Saliva.
well, and then we would hand the parents a kit to do a saliva swab that they could keep in their freezer. Anyway, and then we would ask the child questions like, you know, where do you like to hide when you're alone? You know, just stuff. So it would all go on a disc to the information and go strictly to the parents. We would delete everything after we got done. And then if there was an Amber Alert and a child was missing, these discs could go right into the cars back then of the state police, and they could pull up all the information they had on this child. So it was, I mean, we were doing hundreds and hundreds at a time when we did these events. Oakland County Airport, we used to do that event every year. So
We still do that, and we'll be that's where we'll be handing out the brochures this year, so, and those kits. So
go to the Oakland County Air Show.
yeah, there you are.
It's-
Sometime in August.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you have a lot of connection with the community, and obviously you're working to better your fellowship. And is there a stated mission of the Freemasons, like within the community? Like, is your mission to help kids? It sounds like you do a lot of that. Is it to help your members? Like, I guess I still would love, like, what is the mission?
The mission
the
is
group.
strictly to be involved within your community. Your community should know who the Masons are because of what we do, not necessarily where we're located.
Okay.
And-
Or who we are individually. It should be
Okay.
as a collection, you know, a collective thing that the Masons have done this. The Masons that, not Tom has done this or
Gotcha.
somebody else.
So if I'm a group and I'm looking to create a scholarship, for example, and I'm like, oh, I should think about the Masons, maybe
Sure.
they could
Absolutely.
sponsor
Just contact
that.
You can contact
like
any
that.
local lodge about that.
Yep.
And one of the things that we're doing this year is, and it'll probably happen in September timeframe, is we are going around, I think the number is $3,000 we allocated for this project. And we're buying gift cards from all the local businesses.
Love it.
Okay?
Yeah.
And then we will take those gift cards and we will raffle everything off. So the winners will be able to go back into the community and whether it's the Hamlin Pub or it's Art and Jake's or it's somebody downtown, you'll be able to bring that back into the community.
Yeah.
So
Spend local.
spend
Yeah.
local, right?
Interesting.
So
Nice.
this will be our first shot at it. We're going to see how this works. So.
How are you funded? What's the main funding source?
Well, everybody has dues that belongs to the lodge,
Okay, yeah.
which is the basis of it.
Got it.
And then everything else is fundraising. We do a lot of charitable gaming.
Mm-hmm.
We're over at, I think it's the 300 Bowl on Cass.
Yeah, where they have the poker
Oh.
rooms.
And the
Oh,
poker
yep.
rooms. So we raise a lot of money that way. And that money is in turn given back into the community.
There's also a big golf outing that we do every year, right? I have
That's
to imagine
another fundraiser
that's a big,
that we do. Yeah. In fact, that's coming up on the 15th of July.
It is.
Oh man, you guys have a
Yeah,
lot
at
of
the
events
fountains.
coming up.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that building that you guys have, I mean, I can't tell you how many hundreds of times I've passed it and thought, what in the world? What's going on in there? And how did you end up in that iconic building? Like you said we were one of the first in town, I guess?
The building used to be N.B. Smith's grocery store.
Oh.
And he was a Mason.
like year
So-
wise, what are we
in the
thinking for
eighteen-
that?
1852.
late 50s, somewhere
Oh,
in
wow.
there.
Okay.
And
Couple
we
years
always met up on the second floor. And it was a few different things. We have some residents that are there. that we were part of the Ghost Walk with the Historical Society, where they went from place to place, and that we were one of the stops.
Wow.
We have Enos Church, who lives up on, I think it's Washington and Buffalo.
Yeah.
somewhere
Sorry,
in there.
I'm going to back you up for 1 second. I don't know that I've ever heard of the Ghost Walk.
Let's go back to
Is
the
that
ghost.
still a thing? That
yeah.
sounds so
Can we
fun.
do
We've done it twice. It was part of the Historical Society. They started it, and
Okay.
they haven't, COVID just shut so many
Right.
different things down,
Yeah.
and it's never come back since then.
Because it's a
have you-
predecessor, or it's a tag on of, they used to do a cemetery walk.
Right.
And we would have members of our lodge would dress up as time period and stand by the grave of certain Masons and have a little spiel that they read, and yeah.
Oh, that's very interesting. And then I totally just lost my train of thought.
we
I
were
wanted
talking
to
about,
ask you.
but Enos Church was one of the
Yes.
one of our past masters, and
Yeah.
he lived just down the street from the lodge, and his home was one of the stops on the Ghost Walk. So there's and last Thanksgiving, the ghost hunters, I think were from Tennessee, came up and spent the night in our building.
Did they? What'd they
So,
find?
Found a lot of.
You're just going to have to.
Watch the show.
You're just going to have to watch the show.
We will for sure. And that's what I want to ask you is, have you had any experiences with ghosts in there? Has anyone else?
Good question.
the only
People have had
Yeah,
different
the only one I
experiences,
remember is the light.
you know.
The light above in the lodge room, that light just kept flicking on and off, and we had numerous electricians who were Masons who came in, and there's nothing wrong with this light, but when we would have our meetings, it would click on, click off,
Really?
and click on, click
Okay.
off. So
I wonder if any will show up at the pancake breakfast.
Yeah.
We'll be on the lookout.
Well, usually
Extra syrup.
all of the
Extra syrup.
activity is usually up in the
Okay.
the top
in
room.
the lodge room itself.
Yep.
So.
Does the ghost have a name?
I always thought it was Enos Church.
Yeah,
that's
that's-
who I always.
Oh,
went
that's
by.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
So it's interesting.
Huh.
Yeah.
So, how, if someone wanted to become a Mason, how does that happen?
There's a simple phrase.
Exactly what you did.
To be one, ask one.
You have to ask.
Oh,
them.
really? Okay. So, is it only for men? Is this what I'm
It
assuming?
is.
And is there a reason for that? And is that always going to be the case? Asking
It
for a
will-
friend?
To be a free and accepted Mason in the state of Michigan, you have to
Be
a
male.
male.
Okay. Okay.
Now there's
Interesting.
a female side, which is called the Order of the Eastern Star, which Katie knows my mom was big in,
Okay.
along with my dad.
Mm-hmm.
But that
I was
is
lightly recruited.
yes, yes. But so that is the female side of the Masons. So
What's it called again?
the Order of the Eastern Star.
Eastern Star. So, a young male or any age can say, "I'd like
18 or older.
more information," and
Yep.
then they just approach a Mason and
There's a couple of ways to do that. You can get on the Grand Lodge website, which is michiganmasons.org, and you could request, hey, I'm interested in being a Mason, and there's a spot for you to pull down and fill out. And somebody will get back to you. And Masons, when I became a Mason in 1998, I was younger. Let me put it that way. I was in my early 50s, and I was the youngest guy in the lodge. But today, men that are coming into our fraternity are in their late 20s, early 30s. They're looking for something that's substantial. They're looking for the ability to sit down and have fellowship with like-minded men. They also have the ability to become leaders in their lodge. And that's what people are starting, that pendulum is starting to swing the other way, where they don't need to sit at the end of the bar somewhere. They want something that's meaningful.
Now, I imagine you have some rituals and things that aren't for public knowledge, but are there any things like any rituals that you guys do that you can share, or any, I don't really know, any, I don't know
Well,
what
if you've
I'm
ever been
asking,
to a
really.
Masonic service, when Larry's dad passed, we do a memorial service,
Okay.
usually at the funeral home. And it's a short service. It's probably 15, 18 minutes, but it's quite moving. And we get a lot of interest from young men through that, performing that service and that ritual. Our installations are open to the public. Every year we install new officers in all the chairs within the lodge, and that's always open to the public.
The ceremony to
The ceremony,
Yep.
and that might be something that you might be interested in filming and putting on the.
Okay.
Well, the thing I always remember, and like I said, I didn't become a Mason until I got old enough to, and then I started asking my dad, like, what are the Masons? And
Yeah.
he would give me examples. I'm like, oh, that's kind of neat. But the one thing I remember is that he always told me, he's like, because I had mentioned same premise as you, like, it was like, secrets and all this stuff. And he said, look, the Masons is not a secret society. We just have secrets. Just like you have secrets, and most organizations have secrets, but we're not like a secret society that's out to plot to, take over the world.
So what, you hear about in the movies, National Treasure, Da Vinci Code, like what do they get right and what do they get wrong? Or can you say, dun, dun, dun?
No, there's a lot, so there's a lot of factual information in there for the most part, but you do have to remember it is a movie.
Right.
And so there's certain, I can't list them all, but there are certain things that they give out that are factual, and there's some that are just movie.
Larry has watched both of those movies 1 million times.
Including
So if anybody wants to sit down and watch it with him,
And there's a series out
yes,
there.
he can tell you the true and not so true parts of it. So
Well,
you and Larry can
I
have a
am
movie date.
curious. And are there members who have defected, let's say, and like have divulged any of
Oh
their
yeah, like any
secrets?
organization.
Is there a risk of that?
Listen, if you ever wanted to know anything about the Masons and their dark secrets, it's on the internet. You
Yeah.
can Google anything.
Yeah.
They had, probably 10 years ago, there was a huge History Channel documentary TV show where some guy was outing all the Mason secrets. It's like,
Yeah.
you're not outing anything.
Right.
Like,
But I would
Right.
say that, you can get on the internet and you can get all kinds of
Find bad
information.
info
For
too.
sure.
And whether it's good, bad,
Right.
truth,
Yeah.
or false.
Right.
But if you're really interested, find yourself a Mason and ask them.
Or what about your YouTube channel? Would that be
Oh.
good places? A good place.
We
for
do a thing at the Grand Lodge level called Trowel Time, and you can find that on YouTube.
Okay.
And we talk about things that are relevant to the lodges and the craft in our state.
Okay.
that's
And-
trowel time.
Trowel.
What is your connection to other community groups let's say just in Clarkston, for example? Do you guys team up with any of the other?
We
local
have teamed up in the past with the Lions Club, but normally,
Most organizations like to stay with themselves.
Okay.
Like kind of stay in their own lane. You don't get a lot of cross thing.
Yeah.
But we do partner with like businesses and nonprofits and that. Like the Masons come out to the 4th of July Festival at Independence Township, and they'll volunteer for doing parking at night and that. And they volunteer at Pine Knob Music Theater for certain things. So
Are you guys in the parade? Do you walk in the parade as a group?
sometimes we do, sometimes I can't remember. I don't want to. It's been a while since I've been involved in a parade. I know
Yeah.
we were in a parade in 2008 for sure.
yeah,
Are
and
you on a tractor?
I was
We
on
were-
a tractor.
Yes.
in 2010, when I was elected, I also hold a state office. I'm the Right Worshipful Grand Lecturer for the Grand Lodge of Michigan. And my job is to work with guys throughout the state. We have 42 districts and we have 9 regions. And my job is to make sure that the degree work is consistent, whether you're in Traverse City or Clarkston or Detroit, that they are, you'll see the same type of work in bringing men into our fraternity.
When you say degrees, is that when you're talking about like the little tests
Yep, the
along the way?
Enterprise, the Fellowcraft.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's-
Yeah.
And we can say that everybody's heard of the Detroit Masonic Temple, right? It is owned by the Masonic Temple Association, and last September was 100 years that the construction started, and the Grand Lodge officers, we went down and we did a cornerstone ceremony. And the cornerstone, we rededicated that cornerstone. And it's the same, virtually the same ceremony that George Washington used when he set the cornerstone at the Capitol.
Wow.
So
Is
we have a
there-
lot of tradition.
Yeah, is there like, old tomes and that get passed along, books and
Yes, we
that
have,
kind of thing?
we have
That's
all that
interesting
stuff,
with
yeah.
all the
Yeah.
traditions.
We had the assistant mayor of Detroit. He was there. He had a part in it.
Okay. How many Freemasons are there in the country?
I can tell you for sure, in Michigan, there's about just a little less than 23,000.
Oh, wow.
Masons.
And
And
is
we
it-
have about a hundred and but maybe probably closer to 280 lodges.
Yeah.
Wow. Is it concentrated on this side of the country more? I mean, will you find this many Masons on the West Coast?
You will find Masons in every country in the world.
Oh, okay.
So you're never alone. You can go somewhere and you'll find a brother.
And
Are there-
every state.
Are there international meetings, meetups that you guys get to be involved in?
There are groups like we'll have, there's meetings like the Northeast Conference of Grand Masters. So it would be
Okay.
a certain number of states, and the Grand Master from each one of those jurisdictions, they would go and meet there and exchange views on what's happening in your jurisdiction, what's working, what isn't for member retention and getting new members. And that's everybody's problem.
Yeah. Huh. So you're going to meet in the Caribbean in February is what I'm getting at?
So
where
my
I'm going with
dad, when my dad was alive, he got just a phone call out of the blue because his number was the number at the lodge for people to call, and it was a gentleman who is a Master Mason from Scotland, or no, Wales, and his name was Garth, and they hit it off, and next thing you know, Garth is in Clarkston
Wow.
talking to Dad. So yeah, I mean it's definitely throughout Europe, Portugal, Spain. You'll see a lot of Masons there.
Yeah. Very cool. Interesting. And you talked about the pancake breakfast. How many events per year do you guys generally support? Like what? I mean, is it seasonal?
It's usually seasonal. We'll support the Historical Society when they do the Taste of Clarkston.
Oh, yep.
We'll do that. We'll help them with their with the auctions that they'll do.
Okay.
So we're just kind of behind the scenes. I said we're
Yeah.
kind of like the best kept secret.
Yeah.
Yeah. that
Don't
is
like a lot of
interesting.
fanfare, but we'll be there if you need us.
Yeah.
You don't have the little hats and the.
Oh, we do have little hats.
That you
Well,
would-
only one guy has a hat. Just the master.
That's why I'm like
Funny.
looking for you in the parade. We're not going to see like
Yeah.
costumes
No.
and stuff.
No,
Are
our
the
big things are
Shriners
aprons.
like an offshoot of you guys?
Yeah, so the Shriners are
Maybe that's what I was thinking of.
when you have the Masons, it's like above being just a regular Blue Lodge Mason, Master Mason. You have two routes that you can go. One goes up to, and this is all basically again operative in theory, learning stuff. But one goes up to be like Knights Templar, and the other will go up to the Shrine. So, and then Shriners are the ones that wear the fezzes and drive the
And
cars and the
those are
clowns.
what we call appendant bodies. There's York Rite Masons, okay, and there are Scottish Rite Masons. You've probably heard of the Scottish Rite Center in Dearborn, or you've heard of the Shrine Center in California where they did the Oscars for so many years, right? And that was put on by the Shriners. And the Shriners support all those 18 hospitals, and if someone needs treatment, the Shriners will pick that individual up from the home. They will transport them to that hospital. They'll be with them, and it doesn't cost them a penny. They never pay a penny for their treatment or their transportation. So as Masons, and I found this was probably pre-COVID, but they said it was, as Masons in the United States, we raise $1 million a day to give to charity.
Wow. That's nuts. And so how do you decide which vein you're going to go up? Like the Shriner or the Knights
You do
Templar?
that on your own?
Yep, it's by choice.
You just, and have you chosen like
Yeah,
for you
see,
personally?
so
or-
I went the York Rite side because it was the end goal was Knights Templar, and I'm huge into history. So I wanted to follow because I'm a big fan of like the Crusades and the history of the Crusades and the French King and all that stuff. So that interests me more than the Shriner side did.
Or the Scottish Rite
The
side.
Scottish Rite, sorry. Scottish Rite.
York Rite or Scottish Rite?
York Rite. Yeah, or Scottish Rite.
Interesting.
You're going to
Okay.
be a pro at this.
I mean, it's
What's that say?
fascinating.
Just call in.
Yeah, exactly.
Ian's
Let
going to
Ann
be
do
a
it.
pro, and I am still going to be confused.
Not true.
Totally true. Yeah, but that's fine. I'll call you, and you can fill me in.
Yes, I'm taking notes
Yes.
in my brain. Oh, that's fascinating.
Yeah,
Okay, and do you
yeah.
hope that Jackson is interested when he's of age?
I mean, to me it would be cool if he was, but if he's not, he's not. I mean, it's something that you really have to want to do it. Like you can't just
Do it 'cause your dad did it.
Don't do it because
Well,
I did it.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a lot of families that continue the tradition, right? Your dad did,
Yeah.
Absolutely,
Tom's son
there's
is
a lot of
super
it.
involved.
Okay.
Yes.
It seems a logical progression, but like if he doesn't want to, he doesn't want to.
Yeah.
I get.
And it all depends too on how heavily involved you are as they're growing up. I mean, I've kind of stepped away with our kids growing up and have not attended as much as I did
Right.
prior to that. But my dad was like hugely invested in it. Between the Masons and the Eastern Stars, because he would travel with my mom everywhere. So it was kind of one of those things that, it made me. It just made me proud to know that he was involved in this organization that, just basically makes men better men.
And what's the time commitment, just for those who are interested? What is that?
They're really, I mean, other than when you get into it, there'll be like for our case, the lodge is on Thursday nights. So there's like 3 Thursdays, for one Thursday for 3 months or so, and then after you pass your degrees, now you can come and go as you want.
Okay, so you can be as involved as you want, but you can
It's-
also be
It's
peripherally.
really up to you because you will get out of Masonry what you put into it. It's just like
Right.
everything else.
Sure.
If you don't get involved and get something out of it, then you come to the conclusion of why should I be there to begin with.
Exactly.
But I've been a Mason since April 1998 is when I became a Mason, and I feel better leaving Lodge than I did when I went in. If you're having a bad day or things not going right, you go to Lodge and you have a chance to mingle with the brothers,
Yeah.
and you feel a whole lot better.
Why is it called Cedar Lodge?
That was the name that they came up with. And there's so many.
Yeah, every lodge
little
has
lodge has their own.
a name designation.
Every lodge in Michigan is called something else.
Correct. Every little lodge every little blue lodge in Michigan. There's one in Ortonville. That's the Ortonville Lodge. There's 2 in Pontiac. One is Roosevelt. One's Pontiac 21. There's
Okay.
And then the funny part about it is the Pontiac 21, where the Lafayette Grand is now, that used to be their Masonic Lodge. So if you go by that big building and
Yeah.
see all those
Beautiful.
cement carvings on the outside, those are all Masonic emblems.
Okay, so if we're driving around in any city, in any town, USA, and we see these older buildings, what is it that we should look for as a symbol? Like, oh, that's a lodge.
Usually square and
the
compass.
square and compass.
What's on your shirt?
Yep.
Okay. That's on the outside.
Yep. Or a Jeep.
Or a Jeep?
Yep. G.
Jeep.
Oh, they said a Jeep.
Or a Jeep.
A
Yeah.
rubber ducky.
We build those Jeeps too. and-
What in the world? Top down or not? No, okay.
Well, we'll have to keep an eye out.
Yes,
Yeah.
for sure. Okay.
Cool.
Well, we appreciate all the information.
Yes.
I was going to ask, and now that I think this might not be the right question, I was going to say, so how do you see your group changing as time goes on? And I'm like, well, you've been around for like 150 years, so
Still moving.
maybe that's not part of your plan is to change. It's just to maintain and maintain membership.
I mean, just
Yeah.
in the past 20 years that I've been involved with it, I mean, we adapt to society just like everybody else does. But we still have our, foundational system that we stick with. But, it's like any organization. Everything you have to adapt with society. You have to adapt, with the way things are going.
Like cell phones are allowed.
Not during lunch. No.
Okay.
Not that much adapting.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, excellent.
So I did want to ask before we kind of wrap things up, just because we have Larry here and
Yes,
with
we
his
do.
connection to the parks, if you wanted to give us a brief little update on what's happening in the township with all the different parks. Any
Yeah,
exciting
I mean,
things?
good things are happening. So we have the I do believe August we will be tearing out the old playground at Bay Court and starting the installation of the brand new one. We pushed it till the middle of August, because we run a day camp out of Bay Court, so we wanted to wait till the day camp was done before we took out, the kids' play stuff.
How long will that project take?
We should have everything in the ground by December,
Nice.
Wow.
and that with a grand opening slated for next year. So, knock on wood,
Fantastic.
hope everything works that way. Again, we have our Independence Fest coming up July 1st, which is the Saturday before 4th of July. And that's at Clintwood, where we'll have fireworks if we get rain, make sure, so
Yep.
we don't get those canceled.
We're going to be there.
You'll see us there.
Yep, giant
They
Plinko
will be
board
there.
that
Come in
Larry is
and
building.
Play Plinko. Brady Lodge is moving along great at Bay Court, so I do believe they're installing the air conditioning into it now, so that's going to be opened up for weddings, and that's going to be a 12-month building now. So
Wow, that's cool.
Have you been in that building?
I have not recently.
It's beautiful.
I've peeked
We'll have to
in.
do a pop-in over
Yes,
there,
for
a little
sure.
video of it.
Yeah.
yeah, so no, things are going smooth.
All right. Anything with Clintonwood or Sashua Plains?
Satchel Plains is, we've done a lot of work there. We just put in new volleyball courts. We're efforting putting in brand new sand there now. And Clintwood is just, kind of, this is the busy time of year, so we're not really looking to do anything. It's more maintaining now than it will be, but
It's pickleball crazy.
pickleball's there,
yes.
no
Right,
one.
yeah.
And then we do have new sand for the volleyball courts coming in the fall. And
Spray Park is up and running.
spray parks are running like a train. It's
Nice.
everybody come out to the park. It's great.
Awesome. I meant to ask, this may be unrelated, and are these rings related to the organization, or you just both have these awesome rings?
Nope, these are.
No, these are Masonic rings. You'll see the square and compasses on it.
I thought I saw that. I didn't want to presume. Oh, interesting. Let's take a look at these. So, do these represent the different, status that you?
Nope. Once you become a mason,
Once you become a master mason,
you can get any ring. So
Oh.
my ring, that was my dad's ring.
Oh, cool.
And at my first, when I became a mason, I had my great uncle's ring, who was a mason in Elsie.
Okay.
So I had his ring, and then when my dad passed, I took his ring over.
Fantastic. Very cool. I'll be taking. No, I'm just kidding. Thank you for sharing those, and thank you for all the information. We appreciate it.
oh, it was nice being here today.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
thank
great.
you.
I really like how you described, or one of you described it. Maybe I can't remember, but you said it's a secret. Wait, say it again. How you
So masonry is not a secret society. We just have
you
secrets.
just have secrets. Okay, I think that's well said.
We would wrap on that, except for we have to ask you
we
if
do.
you would like to nominate or know of anybody who you think would be a good guest
Yes,
Ooh.
to come on the podcast.
I've got mine. You,
Oh.
you
Yeah,
can go.
Think about that while
Geez,
you
I
answer.
don't know.
Who do you think we should bring
I
on?
definitely think that you should have Amy Tower LeBassonere.
Amy the Boston
yes.
there, yes.
She is the girl
We've
who
had a
knows
few people
everything.
suggest
She
her.
does. She has a lot of family history with Clarkston.
She does. In
going
fact,
way
her
back.
dad was a master of the lodge.
Oh, was he?
Whitey Towers.
Interesting. Okay.
I would think maybe Tony Smith, if she's still involved with the Clarkston Historical Society.
Yep.
That's right.
Oh,
Someone
yeah.
else mentioned her, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, great recommendations.
two good ones.
Yeah, thank you. Well, we appreciate your time, you guys.
Oh, it was nice being
Thanks for
here.
having
Thanks
us.
for
and thanks for
coming.
letting us get our information out.
This podcast is brought to you by Independence Television, located inside Clarkston High School. The views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of Independence Television, Independence Township, or Clarkston Community Schools.